Hello again, everybody. This is Mike Andrew, once again providing a short video with relevant and practical insights as it applies to business and leadership. Many of the concepts come from one of my two books. Today I'm going to talk about something that's going to be a bit controversial, particularly with the HR community. It's the notion of leadership competencies. Leadership competencies. You know, you've heard the adage that culture eats strategy for breakfast. Well, in the same vein, I think hard work, attitude, character, and integrity eat competencies for breakfast. But the HR world has been falling back on leadership competencies for a long time. In fact, honestly, I've never seen any demonstration or proof or correlation of someone scoring high on competencies and achieving consistent performance and results. There's exceptions, but I don't see the clear correlation. There's a quote from a former executive that says, seek out men and women of the highest character over and beyond competence or superior abilities. I agree with that. Warren Buffett once said he looks for three things: integrity, energy, and intelligence, and if they don't have the first, forget about the other two. So I'm basing this based on my experience over the years, and I'm part of the HR community, by the way. You know, I've interacted with many consulting firms over the world. I've actually worked with some of them, you know, helping them out. And they all have their own leadership competency model, and they all claim it's the best, and it's based on research. You know, I just don't buy it. I just don't buy it. Give me hard work, attitude, executive intelligence or emotional intelligence, and character and integrity any day. Let me give you some examples. Years ago, when I had my business, I was contracted out to work with this consulting firm. Now, this consulting firm they were one of the pioneers in developing competency models. Imagine that. So, one of my assignments, I went to Washington, D.C. with one of the other consultants. I was going to observe. And we were meeting with a very prestigious organization in Washington, D.C. And we met with the top leadership team for about a half a day to create a leadership competency model for their company, their organization. A half a day. And you know how they created the competency model? This pioneer in the competency development field? With a deck of cards. I'm not kidding. A deck of cards. This card deck had 150 cards. Each card represented a specific competency with a description of that competency. So the consultant laid out 150 cards on the table, and the executives went through them all and picked out the top 8 or 10. That's how they created their leadership competency model. What's the validity in that? That same consulting firm sent me to Chicago, I'll never forget this one, to work with a company that were one of the pioneers in barcoding. You know, the barcoding where you scan your merchandise at the supermarket. And so I worked with the top leadership team and was facilitated by the HR VP, and they wanted to create a leadership competency model. So I had a job to do. So this time I put them through a structured process to create a leadership competency model. At the end of the day, they created it, they felt fine. The next day, I had to meet one-on-one with the founder and CEO of this company. This guy was brilliant. He was a multimillionaire at the very least, probably a billionaire, I don't know. So I met with him, and I gave him the results of the work and the leadership competency model. He's looking at me, he wanted no part of this. He wanted nothing to do with it. And I had a job to do. I had to be an advocate for the process for the consulting firm. I gave him my rationale why we're doing it. He listened. He was gracious about it. But in the end, he wanted no part of this. And inside, I'm saying to myself, I agree with you. It was a difficult situation for me because I agreed with him. But I had a job to do. Here's another one. Right around that same time, there was an article in Harvard Business Review, real-life case study of a company in Boston. And the vice president of sales was fired for a number of reasons. And the CEO didn't want this to happen again. And he told the HR VP to make sure this doesn't happen again. So what did the HR VP do? He fell back on the competency bandwagon. So he created a competency model. At the end of the article, there were 4 contributors. One was a chairman and CEO of a Fortune 100 company. The other was a HR executive, another was an HR consultant, and another was a well-known HR academic. Who do you think had the different view? The chairman CEO of the Fortune 100 company. He basically said, you're addressing the wrong problem, and this sounds like HR jargon to me. The 3 HR professionals, well-respected and well-established, successful in their own right, they jumped on the competency bandwagon. And at the end, when they were describing competencies, I think we all know what a competency is, right? I mean, intuitively, you know. But this consulting firm I work for and these 3 HR professionals, they take a simple concept and make it so complex. So the 3 people, when they were describing the competencies and the competency model, here are the terms they use to describe competencies: skills, behaviors, metrics, principles, dimensions, proficiencies, themes, leadership fundamentals, personal attributes, abilities, knowledge, additional attributes. Too complex. A simple concept made complex. So that kind of all led me to say, competencies have their place, by the way. Let me give a caveat. I like when a company has a consistent and objective measure of assessing executives for development purposes or selection purposes. Fine. I don't care what the competencies are, as long as they're consistent and objective. But it's not the end all. Give me hard work, attitude, character, and integrity any day, and executive intelligence or emotional intelligence any day. So what I'll do, I think the next video I'm going to focus more on character and integrity. That's what this book is about, The Greatest Leader He Ever Saw. Sorry for the lengthy video. Let me know what you think. I always watch every person that gives a thumb up, and I read every comment. So I welcome them all, whether you agree or disagree. Thank you very much. See you next time.